This presentation shows you how to submit an application for student teaching. I learned at the mandatory meeting that in order to submit the application, I have to upload several documents: all my college transcripts, a current resume, a writing sample, the signed student teaching guidelines, and my mandated reporter certificate. So, I need to make sure that they're all easily accessible on my computer before I start. Okay, now that I have all my documents on hand, I log into Campus Connect and I go to Main Menu, then Self-Service, then to Student Resources, then to Experience Tracking, and then to Create Edit Application. I'm taken to a new page and I click on Create New Application. There are several application types, so I have to select the right one for me. And to do that, I have to do three things. First, I use the drop-down menu to select my Experience Tracking program, which is always the College of Education. Now, I have to select the application that matches my Teacher Education program, so I click on this drop-down menu. If I'm a graduate student, I see that there are two possibilities. If I'm in early childhood, PE, or special education, I select this application. If I'm in any other graduate program, like elementary, middle level, or secondary ed, or world languages, I select this one that says All Other Programs. If I'm an undergrad, I have the same two choices. Let's say I'm an undergrad in secondary biology, so I'll select this application that says Student Teaching, Undergrad, All Other Programs. When I click on my application type, I get a pop-up message to make sure that I have the correct application type. Now, I have to select the term in which I plan to student teach. This is the term I expect to be enrolled for student teaching, not this current term when I'm submitting my application. So let's say I hope to student teach next fall, a year from now. So I use the drop-down menu and select fall of next year as the term. All right, then I click OK, Save. Now I'm on the first page of the application. Let's get an overview of what's here. The first thing I see is that there are three blue tabs at the top of the page. The tab I'm on right now is called Student Application. Then there is a Sites tab and a Prior Schools tab. If I look down the page, I see some instructions. So, of course, I'm going to read them very carefully. And then the instructions talk about uploading documents. And below, I see where I'm going to upload my documents. But for now, I'm not going to work on this main page. I'm going to go to the Sites page. This is where I enter my request for where I would like to student teach. Since I'm in secondary biology, I'm allowed to suggest two school site preferences. Students in early childhood, PE, and special ed have two different placements, so they can request up to 4 school sites. To request a site, I click on Add a New Site. Let's say I want to student teach at Von Steuben Metro Science Academy. I type in the first 3 or 4 letters of the school's name, and the system provides me with a short list of schools to select from. Over here, if I have a contact at the school, I can enter whatever info I have about the person. I click OK, and I'm taken back to the Sites page. And now I see that the name of the school that I requested appears in the blue box. I can add a second request if I want to, So I click on Add a New Site. But what if I enter the first few letters and nothing pops up? So I can't find my preferred site. In that case, I can check the Can't Find Location box. At that point, I see text boxes where I can fill in the name of the school manually. I fill in as much information as I can. But let's say I'm not sure where else I want to go. I can click on the magnifying glass here and search for a school. If I know I want to student teach in, say, Aurora, I could use the drop-down menu and select City, and then type in the name Aurora, and I'll get a list of all the schools in Aurora. So in this case, I'll select Waubonsee High School and I click OK. I'm taken back to the previous page again, and now I see two schools appear in the blue boxes. If I want to change the information I provided, I click on the yellow Edit pencil. If I want to see a Google map, I click on the small square map icon next to the Edit pencil, and there's my school. Isn't that cool? Now I click Apply down here. Apply saves my work and allows me to go to a different tab without exiting from my student teaching application. I also see a button that says OK. If I click OK, my work is saved and I exit the application. Of course, I can always come back later. Next, I go to the Prior Schools tab. I know I'm not allowed to student teach in a school I previously attended, so I have to enter the name of the grade school, middle school, or junior high, and high school that I graduated from. I click on Add Prior Graduating School, and I use the drop-down menu to select elementary school. And I type in as much info as I can. Let's say I went to Dewey School in Evanston, so I type that in. Then I click OK to return to the previous Prior Schools page, and I do the same thing for middle school. I went to Chute Middle School, so I enter that. And for high school, I do the same thing again. I went to Evanston High School, so I'll type that in. I click OK, and again I go back to the Prior Schools tab. I see the name of the schools I entered appear in the blue box. I can edit the info by clicking on the yellow pencil, and I can delete any entry by clicking on the red X. When I'm finished, I click Apply, which saves my work but doesn't kick me out of the application. Now I'm ready to go back and finish the Student Teaching Application tab. The first thing I have to do is click on the checkbox for Transcript Release. This indicates that I agree to let the Student Teaching Office send my transcripts and other documents to the schools that I requested. Remember that it's the school administrator who accepts and finalizes your placement, not the Student Teaching Office. It's entirely up to the school to accept you at their site or not. The competition is tough at quite a lot of schools, so I'm going to make sure that my resume and writing sample are as polished and professional as I can possibly make them. Looking further down the page, I see where I need to upload my documents in electronic format. And I see that the only formats the system will accept are Doc, DocX, PDF, JPEG, GIF, or PNG. So I make sure my documents are easily at hand and I check to see that they are all in an acceptable format. To upload the first document, I click on Upload Document. The next thing I have to do is specify the kind of document I'm uploading. I use the drop-down menu to select one of the required documents. And I'll select the mandated reporter certificate. Then I click Upload Document. It works just like attaching a file to an email. I browse to find the file, and then I click Upload File. I get flipped back to the previous screen, but I don't do anything. I just wait until the system has finished uploading the document, and in a minute I'll see the main page again. And now I can upload another document. This time, I'll upload my newly signed and dated copy of the Student Teaching Guidelines. I identify the type of document. I click Browse. And then I upload the file. I keep going in this way until I've uploaded all the required documents. Once I upload a document, I see it appear in this list. I can change the type of document by clicking on this yellow edit pencil. I can open the document to make sure it's the right one, and I can delete the document and start over if I need to. If I don't have all my documents, I can click OK, which will save my work and let me exit the application. I can come back later once I have the rest of my documents at hand, as long as it's before the application deadline. Before I submit the application, I check all the tabs to make sure I've completed everything. I've entered 2 requested schools on the Sites tab. I've entered the schools where I graduated from, elementary, middle, and high school. And back on the main page, I've checked off the transcript release, and I've uploaded all the required documents. Now I'm ready to submit the application down here. I see there's a disclaimer here that says, I understand that just because I have completed the application doesn't guarantee that I'll be able to student teach in the quarter I plan. That depends on a lot of things such as having the needed GPA, passing all my classes, completing all my field experience hours, and being accepted by a school. I click on Apply just to make sure everything is saved, and I'm ready to submit, so I click on the yellow Submit button. Okay, that's how to submit your application. But wait, there's more! Once my application is submitted, the Office of Student Teaching staff will review it and set the status of the application to either Application Complete or Application Incomplete. If it's incomplete, I'll be notified by email. If it's complete, I'll also get an email, and the Student Teaching Office will begin the process of sending my application materials to the schools I requested. And you should know that getting a response from the schools can take a while, so don't expect an instant acceptance. My advisor will also check to see if I have met the academic requirements for student teaching, and the Student Teaching Office will check to see if I've met the clinical requirements. But how do I know if a school has accepted me? And how do I know if I've met the academic and clinical requirements? To find out, I'm going to go back into my application. So I go to Main Menu, Self-Service, Student Resources, Experience Tracking, and Create Edit Application. Now I see that I've already created an application. I don't want to create a new one, so I click on the Edit pencil. I now see that the application status says Application Complete. And I now see 3 new tabs at the top of my application. These tabs provide information to help me track my progress towards student teaching. If I look at the Sites tab, I see the status of each of my school requests. I can see if a school has denied my application, or if it's pending or accepted. Or maybe the school hasn't been contacted yet. Once a school accepts me, I'll be able to see the name of my cooperating teacher and my DePaul supervisor, along with any notes that the Office of Student Teaching has written. I'll see the dates when I start and stop student teaching and the grade level I'm assigned to. The Academic Eligibility tab tells me about my progress in reaching academic clearance. About 6 months before I plan to student teach, my advisor will see if I'm cleared academically. This academic clearance check is made 6 months ahead to give me time to make up any deficiencies I might have. If I have reached advanced standing, have the required GPA, and have passed the required state tests, those boxes will be checked off. Up here is a summary of my academic eligibility status. If I didn't pass the content area test, or if I'm missing a content area course, or whatever, there will probably be a note from my advisor. Each time there's a change in the status of my academic eligibility for student teaching, I will receive an email. The Clinical Eligibility tab tells me about my progress in reaching clinical clearance. If I haven't logged all my field experiences, I won't see a check mark in that box. If I've submitted my negative TB test report, this box will be checked. Every time there's a change in the status of my clinical eligibility, I'll receive an email and I'll see any notes written to me by the Student Teaching Office right here. So it's important to check regularly for any updates. This last tab, Final Eligibility, tells me about the final check that occurs right before I student teach. My advisor checks to make sure that I passed all my classes in the previous quarter with a C or better, that my GPA is still okay, and that I've completed all program requirements. I can see my status and any notes right up here. Each time there's a change in status, I'll get an email. Okay, back on the main tab, when I have been accepted at a school site and have successfully met the academic, clinical, and final clearances, the Office of Student Teaching will set the status of my application here to Ready to Enroll, and the Student Teaching Office will enroll me. I don't have to do it myself. I'll get an email letting me know about this status change so I know I'm good to go. And that's it. I've submitted my application, and I can check on the requirements anytime to track my placement and clearance for student teaching.